Welcome to Study Time, a televised home learning program produced by Rwanda Education Board.
Hello, students. My name is Benon. Welcome to TV learning program. I'll be taking Senior 1 students in biology. Last time, we defined the term biology. Remember, we said it comes from two Greek words. One is bios, which means life, and logos, which means study, or we can say knowledge. From there, we defined the whole term of biology, where we said that biology is the study of life. Or sometimes you can define it as the study of living organisms. We also saw different branches of biology. Examples, we saw taxonomy, where scientists classify organisms basing on different characteristics. Remember, we talked about cytology, which is the study of cells, because living organisms have cells. Let it be animals, they have cells. Let it be plants, they have cells. We also talked about physiology. We talked about anatomy. We talked about genetics. We talked about entomology. We talked about ecology. We talked about microbiology. We also talked about biotechnology. Those are different branches of biology, because biology is wide. It includes different animals we see in the environment, some we don't see with our eyes. It also includes plants we see in our environment. Our lesson today will be about classifying those organisms. Students, remember, organisms are very many in our environment. There are those we have so far seen, and others we have not yet seen. So those organisms are classified by scientists to avoid confusion, to see the relationships different organisms have, to see their chemical composition, and so on. So our lesson today will be about classification. When we talk about classification, we mean arrangement of organisms into groups or subgroups on the basis of similarities. We arrange organisms in groups or some small groups, which we call subgroups, according to their similarities. Organisms are classified on the basis of the following. What do we base on when we are classifying organisms? One of them is similar structures. Some organisms have similar structures, which means they may have come from the common ancestor. Another point is mode of nutrition. How do these organisms feed? Some organisms are able to make their own food. Others are not able to make their own food. What they do, they depend on other organisms. So we consider that factor of nutrition when we are classifying organisms. Another factor is the chemical constituents of cells, or the chemical composition of cells. Here we mean what makes the cell. Then scientists also consider the number of cells. What does this one mean? Some organisms have got only one cell. Other organisms have got millions and millions of cells. So these are some of the factors that scientists consider when they are classifying organisms. We have said similar structures, mode of nutrition, chemical constraints of cells, number of cells, also genes. Some animals have similar genes, others have different genes. And these genes, we find them in big structures called chromosomes. Some organisms are in different groups or in different subgroups, but they have the same numbers of chromosomes, or their numbers of chromosomes are very close. So we have to consider this factor of genes as well. Now, when scientists started classifying organisms, they put them into big groups, which we call kingdoms. They put plants and animals in different kingdoms, and these kingdoms are 5 in number. We have kingdom of bacteria, we have protista, we have fungi, we have plants, we also have animals, which means we have 5 kingdoms. And a kingdom is a very big group. Now, they classified organisms into kingdoms basing on different characteristics, as I have said. Here, we are going to see these different kingdoms, how they are different according to cell type, according to cell structure, according to the number of cells, and according to the mode of nutrition. When we say cell type, remember, there are different types of cells. We have what we call prokaryotic cells. We also have what we call eukaryotic cells. How are these different? Prokaryotic cells, they don't have no true nucleus. They don't have a true nucleus. Eukaryotic cells have true nucleus. Students, when I talk about the nucleus, do you understand it? Remember, we are talking about cells. We have what we call prokaryotic cells, which don't have true nucleus. We also have what we call eukaryotic cells, which have true nucleus. Now, when it comes to eukaryotic cells, we have what we call plant cell. We also have what we call animal cell. Sometimes when we ask you types of cells, you give plant cell and animal cell. So these have true nucleus. Let us take a simple example of animal cell, and we see where the nucleus is located. I draw my cell. Then this cell in the middle has the part. This part in the middle is what we call nucleus. And then from the nucleus, we have other parts like cytoplasm. Remember, this is animal cell. And then this outermost part is what we call cell membrane. Now, The cell we have here is animal cell, and it has nucleus in the middle. It has cytoplasm, and the outermost part is the cell membrane. So when we talk about no true nucleus or true nucleus, we mean this middle part. Eukaryotic cells have true nucleus. Prokaryotic cells don't have true nucleus. That is about cell type, which means bacteria don't have true nucleus. Protista have true nucleus. Fungi have true nucleus. Plants have true nucleus, and animals have true nucleus in their cells. When it comes to cell structure, when we talk about cell structure, we mean components of the cell. We mean what makes the cell. There are some cells which have the outermost shell as the cell membrane. A very good example is the animal cell. And there are others which have the outermost shell as the cell wall. Now, when it comes to cell structure, we see that bacteria have cell wall, protista don't have cell wall, fungi have cell wall, plants have cell wall, and animals have no cell wall in their outermost structure of the cell. That's why I didn't draw it here. I didn't show you the cell wall, because this is an example of animal cell, and animal cells don't have cell wall. Another point that scientists considered is the number of cells. At the beginning, I told you some organisms have only one cell, while others have millions and millions of cells. Now, when it comes to bacteria, it is unicellular. When we say unicellular, we mean one cell. When it comes to protista, some of them are unicellular, others are multicellular. When we talk about fungi, these are multicellular. They have many cells. Plants are multicellular. Animals are multicellular. Unicellular means one cell. Multicellular means many cells. Then the mode of nutrition, we also talked about it. We have what we call autotrophic and heterotrophic. Students, when you see these terms, like you see here we have what we call auto, and then here we have what we call trophic. Auto means self. Trophic means feeding. If we combine the whole term, we say self-feeding. Self-feeding means what? It means autotrophs are animals which are organisms which make their own food. I repeat, autotrophs are organisms which make their own food. We can take example of green plants. Green plants are able to make their own food. That means are autotrophs. They do autotrophic nutrition. Then heterotrophic, hetero means other, or we can say different. And then trophic means feeding, as we saw, which means these are organisms which feed on other organisms. Hetero means another, and then trophic means feeding. Heterotrophic organisms are organisms which depend on other organisms for food. Example, humans depend on other organisms for food. Humans eat rabbit, they eat goat, They eat chicken. They even eat different plants like beans, cassava, Irish, and sweet potatoes, which means they depend on other organisms for food. That means heterotrophic. So here we have two modes of nutrition: autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. When we come to our kingdoms, bacteria, some of them are autotrophic. They are able to make their own food. Others are heterotrophic. They depend on other organisms for food. Protista, some of them are autotrophic. Others are heterotrophic. Fungi are saprophytic. Saprophytic means what? Depending on dead organisms for food. Saprophytic means depending on dead organisms for food. And others are autotrophic. They can make their own food. Plants are autotrophic. Plants make their own food. Then animals are heterotrophic. They don't make their own food. They depend on other organisms for food. Students, as you see, we have 5 different kingdoms. I have different examples of organisms. We are going to classify them according to what we have seen. Here we have cyanobacteria. One cell. It makes its own food, has cell wall, and no true nucleus. Do you remember the terms we used? We said one cell means unicellular. If you see here, we have it here. Makes its own food. That means it is autotrophic. It has cell wall, and it has no true nucleus. Having no true nucleus, that means it is prokaryotic. Students, where can you classify cyanobacteria? This one belongs to the kingdom bacteria. I pick another example, bean plant. Bean plant, it has true nucleus. We use the term eukaryotic. It has cell wall. It has many cells. If it has many cells, we used the term multicellular. It does photosynthesis. If it does photosynthesis, that means it makes its own food. It is autotrophic. So we can say true nucleus, cell wall, multicellular, and autotrophic. Bean plant belongs to the kingdom plant. Pick another organism. Amoeba. Amoeba. It has true nucleus, no cell wall, single cell, and heterotrophic. That means it belongs to which kingdom? Protista. Mushroom. Mushroom. Mushroom has true nucleus, it has cell wall, it has many cells. We said many cells means multicellular. It is saprophytic. It depends on dead matter or dead organisms, which means saprophytic, multicellular, cell wall, and true nucleus. It belongs to the kingdom fungi. Here we have a rabbit. Rabbit, which has true nucleus, no cell wall, many cells, that means multicellular, and then feed on plants. Feeding on plants means it cannot make its own food. It is heterotrophic. Having many cells means it is multicellular. Having no cell wall, that indicates that it has animal cell. meaning rabbit belongs to kingdom Animalia. So we have seen different examples from each group. Students, we have what we call hierarchy classification. What does hierarchy classification mean? It means arrangement of groups of organisms from biggest groups to smallest groups. It means arrangement of organisms from biggest groups to smallest. Here we have what we have a small sentence, which means keep plucking chickens or face getting sacked. Keep plucking chickens or face getting sacked. What does it mean? Keep, K stands for kingdom. P stands for phylum. C stands for class. O stands for order. F stands for family. G stands for genus. S stands for species. So this sentence can guide you to easily remember these levels of classification. Kingdom, which is the biggest group. We saw we have 5 kingdoms. Then phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. This is how scientists classify organisms. From the biggest group, which is the kingdom, to the smallest group or subgroup, which is species. Let us take example. Let us classify humans. Kingdom, now, where do you think, in which kingdom do you think humans belong? They belong to kingdom Animalia. They have true nucleus. The cells have no cell wall. They have millions and millions of cells, and they are heterotrophic. They don't make their own food. They depend on other organisms for food. We have kingdom Animalia. They belong to phylum Chordata. These are organisms which have backbone. Do you remember the backbone? Or spinal cord, the backbones. Then they belong to class Mammalia. Do you understand what it means when they talk about mammals? Mammals means organisms which have hair or fur, and they take care of their young ones. They belong to class Mammalia, and then order is primate. Then the family is Hominidae. Then the genus is Homo. Species, it means sapiens. When we talk about species, do you understand what it means? It means organisms which are in the same species are able to produce young ones which can grow and produce other organisms. Which means humans, men and women, are sapiens. They can produce their young ones which will grow and produce other organisms. Students, with classification, there is something very important you have to know, what we call scientific name. Do you know how we get scientific name? We get scientific name from the last smaller subgroups of classification. That means from genus and species. What do? We rate Homo, and then sapiens. This is an important point to note. Homo starts with a capital letter. Sapiens starts with a small letter. Then after, we have to underline. We underline them separately. Or if you type with your laptop, make sure you put your scientific name in italics. There is no need to underline. Students, have you followed all the steps of the lesson? Now, allow me give you homework. This is your homework. Thank you for your active participation. Here is your reference where you can get more exercises. Thank you very much for today.